Nelson Mandela was born in a small village. This village was called Mvezo, in South Africa. His birth name was Rololala. In his Xhosa language, this name meant pulling the branch of a tree. It also meant troublemaker. He spent his early childhood in another village, Kunu. There, he lived a traditional life. He herded cattle, he played with other boys. His beginnings were simple, like many others, but his life would become truly extraordinary. He was destined for great things. His father was a respected counselor to the Thembu royal house. But Mandela was not born into direct line for chieftainship. He was the first person in his family to go to school. This was a big step. At school, his teacher gave him the English name, Nelson. This was a common practice for African children at that time. School opened a new world for him. He learned to read and write. These skills would become very important later in his life. Education was a key he would use. When Nelson was still a boy, his father passed away. He then went to live with Chief Jongintaba Dalindyebo. The chief was the acting regent of the Thembu people. Nelson lived in Mkhekezweni, the royal residence. Here he learned about Thembu history and leadership. He listened to the elders discuss important matters. He saw how disputes were settled. These experiences shaped his understanding of justice. They prepared him for a future he could not yet imagine. He was learning to be a leader. He continued his education. He went to Clarkberry Boarding Institute. Then he went to Hilltown, a Wesleyan college. Later, he attended the University of Fort Hare. This was a top university for black Africans. At Fort Hare, he studied law. He also became involved in student politics. He began to see the injustices around him. He started to question the system. This was the beginning of his long journey. It was the start of his fight for freedom. Apartheid was a terrible system in South Africa. It was a system of racial separation. It was designed to keep white people in power. Black South Africans were treated as second-class citizens. They could not vote. They had separate, inferior schools and hospitals. They needed special passes to travel in their own country. Life under apartheid was very hard. It was full of unfairness and daily struggles. This system created deep anger and sadness. Nelson Mandela moved to Johannesburg as a young man. There he saw the full cruelty of apartheid. He saw how black people suffered. He knew this was wrong. He knew he had to do something. He joined the African National Congress, or ANC. The ANC was a political group. It fought for the rights of black South Africans. Mandela believed in the ANC's goals. He wanted equality for all people in his country. He wanted a democratic South Africa. In its early years, the ANC used peaceful methods. They organized protests. They called for boycotts of businesses that supported apartheid. They wrote petitions and letters. Mandela quickly became a leader within the ANC. He helped form the ANC Youth League. This group was more active. They wanted faster change. Mandela was a powerful speaker. He inspired many people to join the fight. He believed in a future where everyone was treated with respect. The government did not listen to peaceful calls for change. Instead, it responded with more laws and more force. Police often met peaceful protesters with violence. Many people were arrested, many were hurt. The government banned organizations that opposed apartheid. It became clear that peaceful protest alone might not be enough. Mandela and other leaders realized the struggle would be long and difficult. They had to find new ways to fight for freedom. The path ahead was dangerous. A terrible event happened in 1960. It was the Sharpeville Massacre. Police opened fire on peaceful protesters. 69 people were killed, many more were injured. This event shocked South Africa and the world. After Sharpeville, the government banned the ANC. It became illegal to be a member. Nelson Mandela had to go into hiding. He lived in secret. He continued his work against apartheid. He knew the risks were very high. Mandela and other ANC leaders made a hard decision. They decided that peaceful protest was not enough. The government only understood force. So they formed a new group. It was called Umkhonto we Sizwe, or Spear of the Nation. This was the armed wing of the ANC. They planned to target government buildings and symbols of apartheid. They wanted to avoid hurting people, but it was still a very serious step. Mandela became its first commander-in-chief. In 1962, Mandela was arrested. He was accused of leaving the country illegally and inciting strikes. Later, he and other leaders were arrested again. They faced more serious charges in the Rivonia trial. They were accused of sabotage. The government wanted to silence them forever. During the trial, Mandela gave a famous speech. He spoke for hours. He said he was fighting for a democratic and free society. He said he was prepared to die for this ideal. His words inspired many. The trial ended in 1964. Mandela and his comrades were found guilty. They were sentenced to life in prison. Mandela was sent to Robben Island. This was a harsh prison off the coast of Cape Town. He spent 18 of his 27 years in prison there. Prisoners did hard labor in a lime quarry. Conditions were very difficult. They had little food and poor clothing, but Mandela never gave up hope. He continued to lead and inspire even from behind bars. Even in prison, Nelson Mandela was a powerful symbol. He became a symbol of the fight against apartheid. He represented hope for millions of oppressed people. Around the world, people started to call for his release. The Free Nelson Mandela campaign grew stronger every year. Governments and ordinary citizens spoke out against apartheid. Mandela's courage inspired this global movement. His spirit remained unbroken despite the years of hardship. He read and studied. He encouraged other prisoners. The South African government tried to break him. They offered him release from prison several times, but these offers came with conditions. He would have to renounce violence. He would have to accept limits on his political activity. Mandela refused these offers. He would not compromise his principles. He believed that true freedom was not just for him. It was for all South Africans. He stayed strong in his beliefs. He knew one day he would be free without conditions. Finally, the day came. On February 11, 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from prison. He had spent 27 years as a political prisoner. His release was a moment of great joy. People in South Africa and around the world celebrated. He walked out of Victor Verster prison a free man. He addressed a huge crowd in Cape Town. He spoke not of revenge but of reconciliation. He called for peace and a united country. His message was one of hope for the future. Mandela then worked tirelessly to end apartheid. He led negotiations with the government, then led by President F.E.W. de Klerk. It was a difficult process, but Mandela's wisdom and leadership helped guide the way. In 1994, South Africa held its first truly democratic elections. All citizens, black and white, could vote. The ANC won the election. Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. He led his country towards a new, brighter future. He became a global icon of peace and forgiveness. His legacy continues to inspire the world.